doing? Hi. Let's lunch and chat. I am working. I should be having lunch, but I'm working because I have to work through lunch because I'm super busy and I'm off tomorrow because my daughter's graduating and I missed you this morning because I had so much going on this morning, but I still have things to say. So we're going to lunch and chat and work and chat and do all the things. We're going to do all the things. Hi. Hi. I'm working and chatting. We're working and chatting today. Because I meant to come to you guys this morning and my kids had 17,002 places to be all of a sudden. And I'm working like a crazy person because I'm been off sporadically for this child and her senior activities. So I'm working through lunch, but I want to chat because how do we feel about yesterday? Hi Helena. How do we feel about yesterday? I feel like, first of all, I told you guys the other day, I think yesterday morning, that there's either three options. Either Hank is a double agent, either there is the fix is in, or the jury is stupid. After yesterday, I do not see how you find her guilty of anything. I just don't see it. Hank's tattletale voice, I am scared the fix is in too. Actually very nervous about that because I don't understand how you listened to Lucky yesterday and just decide, yeah, well, whatever, doesn't matter. I don't care what he says. There's no way you can hear him say, I drove up, I drove down. I drove up, I drove down. Drove up, there was a car there that wasn't there before, came back down. And then I couldn't get down because of the police cars and I didn't see a body. But what I did see is a car in the way. I don't know how you hear that and just decide, well, doesn't matter. You hear that, and then you hear Officer Barrows saying that light did not look like that. Haven't read it. I'm sorry, I'm getting dinged. I don't know what she's talking about. 1 second, guys. Which I was about to respond. I was about to respond to an email out loud. Anywho. Oh, thank you, Tatted T. Let me tell you something. If the jury, first of all, if Hank Brennan has not lost the jury because they're not dumb and they see the gaslighting, if they're not dumb and they see the gaslighting, if they haven't lost, if he hasn't lost them for that reason, he lost them with Lucky. He lost them with Lucky. When he said, I was not on the internet because I had just lost my wife, and Hank gave him a real sweeping, sorry for your loss. But anyway, you lost them. You lost that jury. If you had not already lost them because they're not dumb and they see the gaslighting you're doing, you lost them with that. Because goddamn, man, take a beat. We understand that you think everybody except your witnesses are lying, but take a beat. Take a breath. Take a second between I'm sorry for your loss And the next question you have to ask, like, God, like if you already don't think he's an asshole, how could you not after that? It's again, Hank Brennan has this problem, and this is the thing with Hank Brennan. He annoys the shit out of me, but he is a very good lawyer. But his issue is always he cannot see the bigger picture. He is so focused on what he's doing at the moment that he forgets every fucking thing else. And how can you try a case like that? It's almost like when he's talking to you, he forgets everything else that was ever said. Because how are you going to ask Lucky? You're trying to insinuate that he was threatened by the words, do the right thing, when we just had a witness up there saying that the police commissioner, her boss, told her to do the right thing. So is it said with a wink wink? Is it a threat? Or is it just innocuous and everybody just wants you to do the right thing? It's like did you forget that part of the testimony? How can you have one witness say, all he told me to do was do the right thing? And then you go attack the next witness about somebody telling them to do the right thing. Make that make sense. Make that make sense. Because who is more likely to be threatened? Lucky having Turtle Boy say do the right thing? Or Kelly Dever having her boss, the police commissioner, say do the right thing? Which one is more likely to be afraid to tell the truth? Which one is more likely to be pushed into saying something different? Like, do you forget as soon as it comes out of your mouth? I just don't understand him. If they're smart, not even smart, if they have any, they don't have to be college educated people. If they have just lived life, I don't see how you don't recognize that Hank Brennan is an idiot. I don't understand how you don't see him, how you don't see the gaslighting of him, how you don't go, wait a minute, didn't your witness just do that? How are you? So is it a good thing or a bad thing? Like, I would be so confused. I would be so confused. Is it okay that people say do the right thing, or is it bad? Is it okay that people only look at pictures and make a determination, or is it bad? Is it okay that these police officers don't write full reports, or is it bad? He literally calls defense witnesses out, and he's the one who's calling it out. And he calls it out loudly and forcefully and make sure the jury understands that it's ridiculous when your witnesses are worse at it. It doesn't make any sense to me. It doesn't make any sense to me. But I want to talk about the defense case because I heard somewhere that Karen said that their case in chief might be over by Tuesday. Let's talk about the witnesses they've had so far. They've had DeSorga, who was basically there to say that Welcher's experiment was ridiculous. And even if it wasn't ridiculous, it really didn't show anything because you can't really know for sure. Okay, great. Then we had the Proctor friend read the text, which the texts were bad. I don't think they hit as well as they could have, as well as they should have if it was Proctor reading them. But okay. And then we had, I'm finding it. We had Dever. One of my people wrote to me a while ago and asked me to stop cursing so much. So sometimes I have to find it. I have to find it because I was about to call that woman. I was about to don't call her a name. Is it Dever? I don't care what it is. Anyway, then we had her who if anybody believes her, if any one of those jurors believe her, it's because they're forcing themselves to believe her because they want to make Karen guilty, and they were always going to think Karen was guilty, and there was nothing they could do. There was nothing anybody could do to make them be not guilty. That's just my belief. If anybody defends or believes her, even if you think Karen Reed is guilty, you may have if you think Karen Reed is guilty, I will go so far as to agree to disagree with you on a lot of this evidence. But if you think Karen Reed is guilty and I see you defending Kelly Dever, whatever her name is, if I see you defending her, you lose all credibility. You lose all credibility with me. You can no longer have a conversation with me. If you believe that she did not see what she said she saw, you lose all credibility. And then I begin to think, oh, it doesn't matter what proof you have. You just want her to be guilty. You lose credibility with me. Even if you think she is guilty, you have to say, yeah, but that woman was lying. She absolutely said what she saw. What she said she saw, because you do not manufacture. You may misremember. I would give her misremember. The reason I won't give it to her is because you remembered a feeling. That's the part that's where I know you saw it. You remembered how it made you feel. That's how I know that you saw what you said you saw. And I know that even if you were going to manufacture a memory, you don't manufacture a memory about your boss. About your boss. If you weren't sure, if you were not sure that it was your boss, you wouldn't have said anything. So anybody that comes to me defending her, actually pretending they believe her, you lose our credibility with me. And then we have Dr. Russell, who, again, another time, if you had Brennan, if the jury was believing Brennan, if they were okay with Brennan before, when he asked Dr. Russell, do you have problems with your memory? You would have lost me. You would have lost me, because you can do what you're trying to do without insulting this very accomplished, very educated, very smart, very capable woman. You can do what you're trying to do without doing that. You would have lost me. You would have looked like an asshole, and it would have made me feel like, oh, the only way you can prove your case is to be mean, is to bully these people into trying to change their mind. Okay. So then we have Dr. Russell. And then their next expert was Officer Barrows, who Hank kind of sent him through the ringer. But at the end of the day, he said, I might be mistaken about some things. I can't remember everything. Some things are off. But I remember that tail light didn't look like that. And that's all we needed from him. And then we have Lucky, who did way better this time than last time, and who handled Hank Brennan like a boss. Listen, I was going to be very upset if Hank Brennan got up there and was trying to be mean to Lucky, and he tried to, but Lucky handled him with all the grace. He wasn't mean. He wasn't rude. He was very steadfast. He was very sure, and he didn't let him trip him up. And one thing about Beverly Canone that gets on my nerves is she allows Hank to blatantly lie in his question. And that bothers me. Because Hank Brennan will say, like he was saying to Lucky, so did you feel pressured to testify? And Lucky will go, no, I didn't feel any pressure. And then Hank's next question will be, so when you were being pressured, and it's like, he already told you he wasn't being pressured. So why are you asking the question that way? And why are I just don't see her letting Alan Jackson do that. I don't see her letting Alan Jackson do that. And that's why I think these defense attorneys have started doing speaking objections, because you're not going to stop him. EDB said it was okay for him to ask that Russell overreacted and was unprofessional. That I don't agree with. And I usually agree with EDB. I don't agree with that. I don't agree with that. Yes, it was. It's not the fact that it's an illegal question to ask whether or not she has problems with her memory. It's not that it's illegal. It's rude, and you didn't have to. And you could do what you're doing without that. Because the defense didn't ask any of your magically forgetful witnesses whether or not they had a problem with their memory, which I think they should have. But to ask this woman, who's smarter than Hank Brennan could be on his worst day, thank you, Jared, whether or not she had a memory problem was just fucking rude. It's just rude. Emily D. Baker, Plymouth. So no, I don't think it was unprofessional. And I would have been like, do you? Because I just answered that question and you seem to be asking me multiple times. Do you have a problem with your memory? Because you already asked me that. Anywho, so we're back to Lucky, who, like I said, handled Hank Brennan like a boss. Did not let him push him around. Did not falter when he tried to ask him questions. And I appreciate that he corrected him. When Hank Brennan was trying to say, so when you were pressured, I like that before he answered his questions, he would say, I wasn't pressured. I didn't feel attacked. I didn't feel threatened. And I'm glad he said that. But see, I think Hank Brennan knows something about this jury we don't know. I think Hank Brennan knows something about this jury we don't know. Because, hey, AV, thank you. I think he knows that this jury is listening more to his questions than the answers. Because when Hank Brennan started that line of questioning to Lucky about, did you receive any gifts? Did you take anything home? Did anybody give you anything? Lucky said no. And then Hank moves on. Because in my mind, you never had proof that he accepted any gifts. You just want the jury to be thinking about it. You just want the jury to be thinking about it. The same way he would ask them, did you say this and did you say that? And they would say no. Notice how Hank Brennan does that, but he never brings them the report he's talking about. He never brings them the transcript he's talking about, because I believe Hank Brennan knows it's not in there. He just wants to trip you up, and he does not care what you answer. He wants the jury to be listening to his questions. He knows something about this jury that we don't know, and that's what scares me. Because he thinks they're not smart. I'm telling y'all, he thinks they're not smart. He thinks they're not picking up the gaslighting of him. He thinks that all they're listening to is that if he asks his question in a tone where it seems like he knows what he's talking about, he's hoping the jury is listening to the question and not the answer. Even though there will be a jury instruction that the questions the lawyers ask are not evidence, it doesn't matter. He knows something about this jury that we don't know, and it's bothering me. I wish I could know what they were thinking so bad. Because he just rambles, but he never brings them the report, which is why Alessi told Russell, ask for the report, because I bet you he won't have it. That's why Alessi told her to do that, because he don't got it. He's hoping that if he asks you forceful enough, you'll get nervous and start to question your own memory, because he's a master gaslighter. He's hoping you start questioning your own memory and then agree to something that he has no proof of. So Alessi said, no, next time he asks you, did you say something? Ask for the report. Because it won't be in there. A couple times he didn't got caught like that. Couple times he didn't got caught like that. But Bev lets him do what he wants to do, ask whatever question he wants to ask, whether or not he has a good faith basis for the question or not. She doesn't care. And he knows that she's not going to do anything, so he just does what he wants. He just does what he wants. Goes, says what he wants to say, does what he wants, runs that courtroom like it's his own. But if you didn't lose the jury with that question to Russell, you had to have lost them just zooming past asking that man about his dead wife. I mean, he did not take a second from sorry about your loss to but. Like, he did not pause for a minute. This man's not fighting with you. He's not combative with you. He's answering your questions. And he just told you, I was not online because I had just lost my wife. And you couldn't give him a minute? Couldn't give him a beat? Couldn't give him a beat? Oh, okay. Oh, okay. And then the last witness we had yesterday was Kolakithis. And again, I said it yesterday morning when we knew she was coming. I don't understand her point. I don't understand the point of her. I think the point was to say that they were being sweet with each other, but I think we already heard that. I think there's bigger fish to fry. We still haven't heard from ARCA. We still haven't heard from their tech expert. And I want Proctor. I want Proctor. I do not understand. Once you try to bring on Proctor's friend and those messages didn't hit like they were supposed to hit because for whatever reason y'all let Hank Brennan read them, I don't understand that. Again, I'm not a trial lawyer, so I could be missing some pieces. I don't understand why you bring this man up, authenticate the text messages, and then sit down. Why would you let Hank Brennan read the messages? Of course, he's going to take the infliction. He's not going to read the word. C-U-N-T. I don't know if I can say it on YouTube, so I won't. But he's not going to read it. Why would you let him do it? I think because those messages did not hit the way they were supposed to, you have to call Proctor. You have to call Proctor. And I don't know why they're not. And it is bothering me. Your life is on the line. I hope you're not comfortable. In my humble opinion, they have not proven this case beyond a reasonable doubt. But I'm just one person. And I got common sense. And I'm not from Massachusetts. Those people down there, I don't know. But if my life is on the line, you call everybody. You call all those lying sons of bitches. Every single one. Every single one. Because regardless of what they say, we know they're all liars as well. We know they're all liars as well. But Proctor specifically, I don't understand the logic. I don't understand the logic. The last jury checked out on Lucky and Dr. Russell. The last jury, if Ronnie with the bow tie was correct, that last jury was not smart. And I think that's what Hank Brennan thinks this jury is. That last jury seemed like they were not the sharpest knives in the cupboard. I don't know if it was just himself and he was trying to explain it and maybe he's not the smartest knife in the cupboard, but that last jury was not smart, if you ask me. And I think that's what Hank Brennan is banking on, that this one is just like that. Should require an IQ test. You are correct, Helena. They should be at least required to take a reasonable doubt test to make sure they understand what that means. They should at least be sure that they understand what that means. Because I believe the way Ronnie was explaining it on the last jury, they didn't even understand what reasonable doubt meant. In order to be on the jury, you should at least have to understand what that means. Because if you understand what that means, this case has not been proven beyond a reasonable doubt. Regardless if you think factually she hit him. Because every piece of evidence could go either way, there is reasonable doubt here. But I'm just little old me. And I think you hammer home what all was wrong with this case. And I think you do that by calling ARCA, by calling your tech expert that said that search absolutely did happen. And then you end with Proctor and your closing argument, and somewhere in there you say, we gave you Proctor, they hid him. I know Hank Brennan got up here because you know he's going to get up there with his righteous indignation and his gaslighting, act like it's not even a big deal. He's going to act like, oh, he's the one calling Proctor a loser, but he can't even do that. This is why I don't understand not calling Proctor, because there's nothing Hank Brennan can do without looking like a liar. There's nothing Hank Brennan can do with Proctor if the defense calls him. There's nothing he can do without looking like he was hiding something, without looking like he will lie for them, without making at least one of his other witnesses a liar. I just don't understand the downfall to calling Proctor. I feel like it's only a lift up. Either it does nothing or it helps. I don't see the hurt. And so I don't understand why you won't call him. Because if you had called Keithis, who in my opinion did nothing, then you should call Proctor. You just should. Hank is a sneaky snake, but there's nothing he can do because of how he's presented this case so far to make Proctor any more sympathetic or any more believable. He can't come out and act like it's not that big a deal, because if you actually thought it wasn't that big a deal, you would have called him. You can't come out and act like he's a piece of shit asshole because you let Buchanan get on the stand and said he acted with honor and integrity. You can't go up there and act like you just had no idea what was going on because you called every single detective that went with him somewhere, which means you were actively going out of your way to not call him. I don't see the downfall. I don't see the downfall. Taz, I like the defense strategy too, but I still need Proctor. I still need Proctor, and I need him from the defense because Hank is a sneaky snake. I can see him calling Proctor himself on his rebuttal case. Because he's a sneaky snake. Because he's a sneaky snake, he can make the prosecution, he can make the defense feel like he doesn't want to call Proctor. I didn't call him in my case in chief. I'm never going to call him. But since he was the one to read those messages, I can see Hank Brennan going out of his way to make the defense look ridiculous by him calling him on his rebuttal case. But isn't the bigger point if they can use that against Hank in closing? Maybe, but then Hank can say, well, they didn't call him either. We didn't stop them from calling him. So it's like it'll be a Hank Brennan gaslighting move, because you can say that you didn't call him, but Hank Brennan can get up and say they had every right to call him too. We're not the only one that could have called him. They had every right to call Proctor. He's not missing. If they think he was so good for their case and they wanted to hear from him so bad, they could have called him. So I don't even know if that, it doesn't shift the burden. It doesn't shift the burden because it's not them proving anything. Hank wouldn't be saying they needed to prove anything. What if the defense gets up and says, look, they hid him from you. They didn't even want you to hear from him. The prosecution can say, yeah, we didn't call him. We think he's a jerk, but we didn't stop the defense from calling him. That's not shifting the burden, because they're not saying he has to prove anything. They're just saying we both could have called him. What if Proctor does what Deaver did? I think Deaver was catastrophic for them. So if he does what Deaver did, great. That'll be awesome. That would be awesome if he does what Deaver did. I don't see anybody believing anything that comes out of that woman's mouth. And if they do, I got a condo with an ocean view in Arizona for them. Have them call me. It's beautiful. They believe anything that woman had to say, tell them to hit me up. You can see the ocean is beautiful. You can hear it, seashells and sand, smack dab in the middle of Arizona. She says they're going to be done by Tuesday, which means they got Friday, Monday. And who do we still have to call? We still have to call both ARCA, and we know Hank Brennan's going to keep them on the stand for a year, and he's going to do the same thing. When's the last time they talked to you? Did they coach you? What did they say when they met you? Where did they meet you at? Did they call you up? Do you know his name? Like, he has the same blueprint. And that's also what I want the defense to do, is get in front of that. Get in front of that, because Hank, I'm telling you, he thinks his jury is stupid. That's all I can think. That's all I can think, because he asks all of these people, did they speak to the defense, as if it's a flex, as if he's, and I'm always like, why is he doing this? He thinks this jury is dumb. He thinks they don't understand that you're supposed to prep your witnesses. He thinks that if I make it seem like they're not, you didn't talk to me. You didn't talk to me, did you? That actually looks bad for you. Unless your jury is not smart. Unless your jury has no idea how any of this works. I always find it odd that you haven't talked to these people, Hank Brennan. Did you not know they were going to testify? Do you not care what they have to say? It makes sense that they are talking to the witnesses they're going to call. So why are you making it like, when last time you talked to them? What did you do when you talked to them? Where did y'all meet at? What did y'all say? It's like, okay, I would feel like you were wasting my time with these questions. Yes, they met, they talked about what he was going to say. That's what you're supposed to do. Why are you talking about this? But the defense should get in front of it so it doesn't look like he's catching them in something. Exactly, Helena. The fact that you have not spoken to these witnesses who have evidence that maybe she didn't do it is more nefarious than you saying, did you talk to the defense? Did you go and meet them? Did you? No, I in my head as a juror, I'd be like, well, that's weird that you haven't talked to these people who have something different to say. Why the fact that you're calling it out, you've never spoken to me, have you? Well, I think that's strange. You have an officer here who saw the car before anyone else saying that the tail light didn't look like that, and you don't want to speak to him? That's odd. You have okay, guys, I'm back. Anywho, the fact that he continues to treat that as if it's some type of sneaky little back door is weird. It's weird, but it's not weird if you think your jury is seeing it like, ooh, what were they talking about? He keeps making me think that he knows something we don't know about this jury, and that makes me nervous. And that makes me nervous. Because what you know, it makes me feel like every time he asks those questions, he sees jurors' face like kind of perk up, like they want to know. Because if I was on a jury, he'd stop asking that question, because every time he asked it, I would go, and he would see it. And he'd be like, okay, let me not go that route anymore. Because I don't care. They're supposed to talk to them. Why are you keep asking everybody that question as if they're going to give you some, yeah, he told me to say this. Like, nobody's going to say that. So why are you keep asking this question? Yeah, he does. He's thinking, he thinks if it sounds like they're doing something sneaky, because I'm telling you, his whole closing argument is going to be, look, the defense called all their witnesses and told them what to say, even though nobody said that. Even though nobody said that. That's what he's going to say. That's what he's going to say. Look, everybody, the defense met with all their witnesses and told them what to say. As if they're not supposed to meet with their witnesses. Has anybody watched an episode of SVU? Y'all never saw the prosecutor and the defense attorney talking to the witnesses who were going to testify? Is anybody not watching TV? Is anybody not watching TV? Like, what is going on? Hank Brennan is such a master gaslighter, guys. It actually should be studied. He should actually teach a class. He should actually teach a class. The level at which he is able to make you feel like you're crazy has to be studied. Has to be studied. When he's asking questions, I'm like, is he new? Was he not here? Did he have headphones on? What? When he asked Lucky, didn't he just tell you to do the right thing? I said, what? Do this man got a Men in Black memory forgetter thing? Did you forget that Deborah just said that about her boss? Did somebody zap your mind? Why would you ask that particular question? Of all the questions, why would you ask that particular question? Doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Thank you, Stranger Things. Doesn't make any sense. Why would you ask that particular question? Why are you asking Officer Barrows why he didn't take detailed notes? Are you new? Are you new? You realize that every half of the 47 pieces of tail light, we have no idea where they were found besides 34 Fairview. How are you asking that question? How are you asking that question? How are you asking him why? You could have taken a picture, couldn't you? This is how my mouth was when he said that to Officer Barrows. You were there with the tail light. You could have taken a picture of it. I went, what? Are you, are you new? Are you for real? Are you for real? This is not his evidence, his case. He don't even know what y'all doing here. Why would he take a picture? Why would you ask him that? Why would you bring attention to the fact that neither Proctor nor Buchanan took a picture? And it's their case, their murder case. What is going on? The gaslighting of Hank Brennan needs to be studied. Put it in a book. Put it in a book. Because of what is happening. The Dr. Russell gasp made me feel so bad for her. And I think I gasped too. And then again, how are you calling out the fact that somebody doesn't remember something that just happened? Because that's what he was asking her memory problem about when she was like, I don't remember how it came up that Alessi told her to ask for a transcript. She's like, I don't quite remember how it came up. We were talking or whatever. Do you have a memory problem? Oh, you're bringing it to everybody's attention that something just happened and you forgot. Do you want to talk about Jen McCabe forgetting who she called in 10 minutes? This is why sometimes I think he's a double agent. I feel like he's using the defense witnesses to make sure they understand all the shit that's wrong with the prosecution witnesses. Because Jen couldn't remember anything. When we all know she could remember everything. Hi, Team Wicked Smart. She could remember everything. You just know the timeline now. So your lie about seeing the car outside at 12:45 can't work anymore. Like, why are you calling it to our attention that these people forget things? Why are you making it seem like it's a problem now when half your witnesses couldn't remember anything? It's like he memory wipes himself with the Men in Black thingy after every witness, and he's only worried about this particular witness at this particular time, and he doesn't care how it affects the credibility of any other person. And it's very weird. It's almost scary. I'm almost scared because what is happening? He makes me question my reality. He makes me question my own reality. What is happening? His hypocrisy knows no bounds. He doesn't care. The thing is, I think he forgets. So I don't even know if he realized he's being a hypocrite. Like, do you just everything? I'm only worried. He's so worried about winning this one battle with this one witness that he forgets everything else. And I think he thinks he's getting away with it because he does not think his jury is smart. He doesn't think they're putting it together. He doesn't think they know what's going on because they must have really good poker faces, unlike me. They must be 10 times better than me at keeping their emotions inside and not showing it on their face, because you would be able to tell that I could not stand you. You would instantly be able to tell that I know you're not trying to play me like I'm dumb. You would be able to tell at any given moment I want to slap you. But they must be really good at just sitting there stone-faced. which is why I'll probably never make it to a jury. And if I did, I'd probably be put off because they'll be like, ma'am, we're going to need you to control your face. You're going to have to give me a poo shiesty because I ain't going to be able to. You're going to have to give me a poo shiesty and some sunglasses because I would not be able to do it. You would be able to tell who I could not stand instantly. Instantly. Immediately. I'd be up there with a burqa. Otherwise, my face is going to be all type of twisted and tangled. When he told that lady, do you have a memory problem? I'd have threw something at him. Don't let me have had a pen in my hand. Because I'd have threw it at him. When I was so mad at him, and I felt so bad for Lucky yesterday. He said he lost his wife, and that man went, and sorry for your loss. But like I said, how rude. How rude. And I love that Lucky said, look, yeah, it's better that people ain't on my head anymore, but I was just doing my job. And here I am. And it's so weird to me that he would go this hard at him about what he did or didn't see. And you would be so rude to him about what he did or didn't see when nobody else saw it either. Nobody else saw it either. So why do you have to be mean to him? Why are you acting like he's the only one who didn't see anything? It's because he's the only one that's unequivocally saying there was nothing there. Everybody else just saying, oh, I didn't see it. We weren't paying attention. I don't know. We were driving with our eyes closed. Apparently, we didn't even look at the lawn when we backed out the driveway and our headlights were on. We don't know. He's saying, oh, I know. And it wasn't there. This whole case is insane to me. I have not seen beyond a reasonable doubt. Not even in the slightest. Not even in the slightest. Because it feels like, and it always feels like, for every bit of evidence you have for her being guilty, there's another piece that saying, first of all, every piece of evidence somebody points to that wants me to believe she's guilty, that same piece points to not guilty. Like there's that same piece, if you see it a different way, points to not guilty. That exact same piece. Which is why you have reasonable doubt. Brennan doesn't think that his jury understands that. So Brennan thinks if I give him a color, a blue light with some paint on it, have somebody roll up against it, say she went back at 24 miles an hour, forget that we haven't explained how he don't break his arm but break a tail light. Just don't mention it ever again. Brennan's strategy is to never mention bad facts ever again. And when he had a bad fact, he called them. He said, you know what? I'm going to need you to change the time. That time doesn't work. That time doesn't work. I'm going to need y'all to get in the booth. I'm going to need y'all to move that time up a little bit so that the backup happens exactly the time that the phone locks. Can y'all do that for me? And Welcher and Burgess said, we got y'all. Every single piece of evidence you have to point to guilt also points to innocence. And that's why we have reasonable doubt. But Hank Brennan doesn't believe that his jury understands reasonable doubt. So he just is mean to everybody. He's mean to everybody. And I had somebody ask me the other day, what's the difference between him and Alan Jackson? And I will tell you the difference between Alan Jackson. Besides swag. I mean, if we're going to leave out swag, The difference between Hank Brennan and Alan Jackson is Alan Jackson goes at people who's battling him, who won't answer his questions, who's actively fighting with him. He doesn't just come out rude to everybody. Hank Brennan has been rude to every single defense witness, and none of them are fighting with him. None of them are going back and forth. None of them are not answering his questions. So you look like an asshole to just be loud and rude, moving past the fact that my wife just died, asking me if I have a memory problem. Like, that's the difference. It's not as smooth because he's doing it for no reason. Welch's emotional support laptop, I think so too. When she said that I've seen people in the emergency room say weird shit, say crazy stuff, they start to blame themselves, that helped me. So I don't know if I hope it helped the jury, but it definitely helped me because my only criticism, well, I had to. My criticisms of Karen Reed has always been the interviews I wish she would have never done, and her explaining in the interviews, could I have hit him in some way? Could I have clipped him? I just always didn't understand that. I never understood that because I don't think that would have been my response. And if it was, I wouldn't have told nobody. I would have been saying it in my head like, damn, did I hit him? Jen said some weird shit. Did I hit him? Would have been saying in my head, never to a reporter on a national TV show. But that's just me. But listening to Dr. Russell say that some people have this response made me go, you know what? I can see that. I can see that. You being so distraught, him being laid out, and we don't know. The thing is, too, is we don't know what the fuck Jen and Kerry was saying in that car. We don't know what was going on them phone calls because all we have is Jen McCabe's version of the phone calls. And I don't believe a word that comes out of that bitch's mouth. I don't believe a word that comes out of her mouth. So we don't know what she was saying before the police got there while they were down there working on John. We don't know what she was saying on the way before they found John. And if you're already distraught, half drunk, if somebody's in your ear talking shit, who knows what you might say? And that traumatic of a situation where you see your boyfriend laid out in the snow, who knows what you may say? And Jim McCabe seemed like she got her finger wrapped around everything down there in Canton, so I could believe it. I could believe it. I could believe it. I could understand it. I'm not saying it would be me, but I can understand it. I believe Jen McCabe started to manufacture this whole thing from the very beginning. From the very beginning. As soon as Karen called her that morning, and she called her sister and talked to her sister, you'll never make me believe she didn't talk to her sister at 5 something in the morning. They had started to build the narrative. Karen's going to find them. What are we going to do? Karen's going to find them before anybody else does. What are we going to do? Okay, well, we're going to make her think she hit him. That's what we're going to do. Makes sense to me. Makes sense to me. Because if she hit him, okay, y'all. Before I go, we're gonna play a game. We're gonna play a game. Let's say she did it. Okay, everybody with me? We're going to play a game. We're going to wipe our minds and we're going to go over to the Karen Reed is guilty side for 1 second. We're going to go over there for 1 second. And then I'm going to need y'all to explain to me why, if she did it. Now, she did it. We're there, okay? Need y'all to explain to me what would be the reason, and I need a good one. What would be the reason Jen McCabe doesn't go in her sister's house when she sees a dead body on the lawn? What would be the reason? I'm going to need somebody to explain to me what would be the reason Jen McCabe, somebody who was surrounded by police officers, wouldn't get on the phone and say, a police officer's down. He's a police officer. But my police. I'm going to need somebody to explain to me why none of the Alberts come out of the house with police cars, fire trucks, screaming. I'm just going to need an explanation. I'm going to need an explanation for why Brian Albert and Brian Higgins don't have their phone anymore. And they just so happen to not have them right before the order comes down, when you know they know somebody that works in the office where the order was coming from. I'm going to need an answer to that. I'm going to need an answer to where is the dog. I'm just going to need an answer to that. Nobody remembers the dog even the next day. I'm going to need an answer to that. I'm going to need an answer to why there was not even one taillight piece found that night. I'm going to need an answer to that. I'm going to need an answer to if he was down on the snow, on the ground where he hit his head, where's the blood? Where's the blood? If the ground is frozen enough to crack his head, I don't think it's going to seep into it. You don't have one? Okay. If he hit the ground before it starts snowing, how do we get blood on top of the snow? I'm just going to need answers to these questions, and then I will jump on the Karen Reed is guilty side with you. But before that, I'm going to need answers to these questions. Going to need answers to these questions. I'm going to need why, of all the Cellbrite searches and everything they've ever done with a cell phone, the only thing they got wrong is house long to die in the cold. Going to need an answer to that. Going to need an answer to these questions, and then I can come over to your side. You're going to have to explain to me how it is so that she drove up half a city block. 80 feet is a long way. 80 feet is a long way. Drove up half a city block, backed up at 24 miles an hour. First of all, nobody heard it. Nobody heard her revving backwards, and nobody heard her stop on a dime, which is what she'll have had to do. She'll have had to stop on a dime in order to not hit Higgins' Jeep. Nobody heard her drive up 80 feet, speed back, and all the time she's doing that, John is just standing there in the middle of the street, not moving, not doing nothing, just watching her come back. Y'all gonna have to explain to me how it is that she hit him hard enough, because sometimes I want to call it a clip, but I'm with Dr. Russell when I say that looks like a direct hit. How it is you can hit somebody hard enough to break their taillight, but not hard enough to break their arm. Going to need answers to that. And then I'm going to need to know why the taillight wouldn't just fall down. Why it wouldn't just fall down. Why they would move to the side. I'm just gonna answer to all these questions, okay? And then I'll jump over. I ain't even mentioned the group chat. The only person you're distressed with, Jen, is when you're talking to Kira Roberts, the person you don't know. Everybody else, you're in there. I love it. She's telling them everything. Talk to them. Find out the information. Tell them the guy didn't come in the house. I'm just going to need answers to these questions, and I'm going to need good ones. I don't need no Trooper Paul. It just is type of answer. I'm going to need good ones that make sense, because my favorite thing to say is that's just not the way normal people operate. There's a way that people operate generally in day-to-day activity. If you deviate from that, there's usually a reason, and it's usually a good one. Normal people go in their sister's house if they find a dead body on their sister's lawn. There's a reason that you don't. Okay. Just doesn't make sense. And if he wasn't hit, you must have quit. If he wasn't hit, you must have quit, because of what is going on. The prosecution has not proven anything yet. You are absolutely correct. All right, so I'm actually going back to work now, because I was supposed to be working and talking, and then I just started talking and didn't do any work. And no, I don't have mods, and I need some. But you know what? The reason I don't have mods is because I usually stream from StreamYard, and I don't really have a lot of the riffraff and the bots on there. It's only when I stream directly from YouTube that I have the bots. But I didn't feel like going to StreamYard and getting it all set up. So when I'm on YouTube specifically, I do need some mods, and I'll find some eventually. I have to have a more consistent stream schedule, because I don't want people to just be, me taking up all their life while they're trying to come moderate these chats. But yeah, the lives directly from YouTube it's annoying. On StreamYard, it's a little better. But yeah, I do need some lives. Jeno, you'll be a mod for me. Email me, we'll talk. Email me, and then we'll figure it out. All right, guys, I'm going back to work. I hope you have a good day. I won't be on in the morning because it's my baby's graduation day. It's her graduation day. If she leaves me after she graduates, maybe I'll come on later. But I will talk to you guys hopefully Monday morning. We'll see. Usually I'm on with AV on Mondays. We'll see if we do one. But I will talk to you guys